All right, welcome to English 1000, formerly known as English 2. If you feel that maybe you struggle with English or you'd really like to have a lot more support, I highly suggest English 1000 and E. It is an excellent, excellent class, especially if you're one who really prefers support, especially in an online class. Online is hard, and this is a 4-unit class, so it will be hard in the sense of it's going to take time, it's going to take time management, and it's going to take some work. It's not necessarily quote unquote a hard class as much as it's kind of time consuming, and the things that I'm going to ask of you will definitely be using your critical thinking and your brain. So just keep that in mind for this particular class. I am your instructor, Kylene Bromley. Probably should have said that sooner. Just so you know, this particular English class is going to probably be very different from any of the other English classes you have. And the reason why is a lot of understanding composition is experience and identity. And I do push for that in the very first unit of class. We will have 3, but the first unit is going to be experience and identity, which is really important to understanding why do we compose? What is the point of composition? And composition is in our way of communicating who we are, our values, our experiences. It's really, really important aspect of composition. That being the case, this class, I very much hone into the first part of the humanness of who we are as composers. And so at first you might be like, what is this hippy dippy stuff? Don't panic. I promise you, it will all make sense as we move forward and we talk about who we are as writers and the narrative. I'll go over that in a little bit too. So, just so you know, again, this is a very unique class. And while at first it might not make sense to you, I promise you, everything I do is for a reason. And it's to help you to understand how you can compose. All right, so one thing I do need to make sure you understand is understanding why I will push, I'll talk about this in a second, but I very much push against the use of AI. And the reason for that is because AI is not human and I'm looking for the human. All right, that's as simply as I can put. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. But anyway, we will have 3 units in this class. The first one is going to be identity and experience. The next is going to be critical thinking and literacy. All right, and then we're going to have our composition. So the first, identity and experience, is going to be you being the human on the other end, telling me about who you are and why you are who you are as a human, right? That's you're composing yourself. But in order to explain who you are as a writer, you have to understand who you are as a person. And so what we do is we dive in a little bit deep and understand ourselves, our values and maybe some of our fears, maybe some traumas that have influenced who we are. There's going to be some diving deep into ourselves to understand why do we compose the way we do, right? That's just a part of composition. So that's that first hippy dippy part. And then next after that unit, once we've dived, pretty deep into who we are as humans, we're going to actually start applying critical thinking and taking information from other people. And how do we take in that information? How do we read it? How do we apply it in some way? And that's where we talk about understanding scholarly articles and citing sources and things like that. Then last, our very final part is the composition part, where we take those experiences and learning how we, read in applying it into a final research paper. So that is what the class will look like. And I just have to warn you. So as we're doing things and you're like, how does this relate to composition? It all does. I promise you. Okay. For the class, honestly, it's as much as just do the work, read, do the readings, watch the videos and take the quizzes. It's not necessarily hard, but it does take time. I try and make my lectures as short as possible, but think of them as like podcasts where you just put it in your ear and you're just kind of listening to it in some way. I will push as much as I can on this end for you to get used to handwriting things. So if you're listening, you should always have a piece of paper and a pen just so you can jot down notes. Makes it a lot easier at the quiz at the very end. Also make sure you're doing the readings, because the readings will also be quizzes in the play posits. My lectures will be through what I call a play posit. I'll talk about that in just a little sec too. All right, first and foremost, I do have to address ethics in class. So ethics in my class, so you might hear it as plagiarism as well. In my class, we live by a certain level of ethics, and the ethics include ways in which we will mindfully create work. That's the goal here, is we want to do human work. That's all I care about. Okay. Again, I don't care about perfection or anything like that. That being the case, in order to be human, you have to avoid things that are not human like, or not just AI and things like that, but beyond that. So what I look for on my end is things I would like you to avoid. Things that are unethical would be plagiarism. So plagiarism includes invalid or inaccurate citations. Like if you're citing a source and it's not correct because you haven't vetted it or I can't find it, that to me is plagiarism, and that's unethical. That is against Dubuque College's policies. So just make sure you're including where you got the information. I have it where I'm going to show you how to cite it correctly. I give you all the tools. Usually it's as simple as the last name and then some kind of link of where I can find it. Or, I just need to be able to find the source, and I need to be able to see where the quote from it, because you will be using quotes from your work. So how to be ethical is you cite your sources correctly. How to be ethical in this class is, I don't want you using AI. It's one of those things. If you can take an AI class where they're going to teach you how to use it really well, that's fine. That's fantastic. I don't have a thing against it. Outside of other realms, but within this class, I don't like it and I don't want it. And that's because it takes away from the goal of the class, which is you composing. Also, ethically, technically, if you're using ChatGPT or AI or Grammarly's rewriting your work, you're using their work. You are actually citing someone else's work. And if you're using AI and Grammarly, you're not using your own work. Even if you put your work in there and ChatGPT and AI revamp it and send it back to you, that's their work, not yours. So that is actually technically plagiarism. It is unethical in this class. So don't use it. Don't bother. And again, if you're going to try and put it through, put your work through AI or Grammarly just to correct it, I don't want that. I don't want that. I'm not looking for that. To be honest with you, I hate the way ChatGPT and Grammarly and AI, I hate the way they rewrite work. It feels gross to me. It doesn't read well. It doesn't read the way your work will. Like, I trust yourself in this process. I promise you. I'm not going through with a red pen and, freaking out about your spelling or your grammar. I don't care about that. I just want to see how you, as a human being, compose. That's all I care about. And you're going to see that as we move forward. So this is why I push so much against it. And you can use it for other classes, whatever you got to do. But for this particular class, please do not. Again, I do reserve the right to give zeros if it becomes something where I'm like, you're literally using someone else's work. That's unethical. I cannot accept it. So just keep that in mind. This is why I say that, because that's just the legalities of it. If you're pulling from someone else's work, it's not yours. Okay, that's actually stealing too. So anyway, also another part that's unethical would be using a peer's work, using work that is too similar to your peers. If I see it, I'm gonna probably call you out, and it's not like I'm accusing you. I'm just saying your work and another student's is like really close, and I have to ask why. So you're going to notice I'm going to ask you some questions. It's not accusation. It's me trying to figure out who's on the other end, what's on the other end, what are we working with, what are we doing? It's just me trying to communicate to understand, like, I'm not in class with you. I'm online, and I only know what I see coming through. So I might ask you, like, this doesn't make sense to me. I'm not quite understanding what you're trying to say. Or maybe to me, it doesn't make sense, and I'm confused at where you got your information. It's just me guiding you. It's me trying to figure out exactly what it is I need to help guide you with, okay? Again, which is why I don't like AI, because it hallucinates and it doesn't give us the correct information that we're looking for. And so that's why I push against it, because one, I'm telling you, you will know more than any machine. You know way more, especially when we talk about identity and experience. That's you. You just tell me you and what you've experienced, right? Like it's easy, fun stuff. Like that's the goal of that. And then when we do research, I give you all the little pieces, and you're like, oh, that was super easy. I'm like, yeah, you just had to do the thing. So trust yourself. I promise you, you're gonna do absolutely fine in this class. When I say it is not your normal English class, that is exactly why. And again, in any other class, you could do what you gotta do, but in this class, let's just trust ourselves. That's the goal here. Trust yourself. You got it. Also, another thing that for me seems unethical is when you give not, how do I say this, vague answers or strange answers or answers that, I don't like to use the word like lying. Lying isn't the word, but like not telling me where you're getting information, not using the readings, not being specific. I need specifics. That's the key, right? Otherwise, something pops up on my end and I go, doesn't feel right. Something's missing. What's missing? And so that's just where I'm going to ask you, like, where did you get this information? Or, I'm confused at some of these answers. Your best bet is to literally pull exactly from the work that we're doing and using quotes. Use quotes. Always use quotes with direct information. And then that way I can go, oh, you literally did the reading. You quoted it and you showed me you did the reading, therefore I get where you're coming from. Like I want you to use the work to validate your points. Otherwise, what's happening is you're making stuff up. Like if it's not pulling from that information, aside from experiences, that's different, and those kind of things. But when we start using actual readings and things like that, I want you to always pull from the readings. Just show me that you used the readings, right? It's not hard. Sometimes it takes time because you're just thinking for yourself. That's all we're looking for here. Okay. It's just so to avoid unethical, actions, just make sure you do your own work. Super easy. Make sure you're very specific with your answers. Make sure you're using the readings correctly. Always cite your sources. I give you how to do that. I give you all that. I don't have to go into it. And then just don't put your work through Grammarly or AI. Don't do that. Don't bother. I don't want these polished things like if you want to polish it on your own, please do. Absolutely. If you're like me, I am obsessive when it comes to my own work and polishing it 1,000 times. It's just, the English teacher in me, I guess. So that's my own thing. If you feel you want to do that, go for it. Absolutely. Spell check is fine, things like that. My fear is what happens is AI machines or Grammarly rewrite your work. And once it's rewritten, it's technically no longer your work. So that's just how it is. If you're not sure, I highly suggest going to CAS. CAS is amazing. They're human people. They're going to walk you through and they're going to guide you through how to do certain things, okay? If you go to CAS, let them know that I say no AI. Let them know ahead of time because I don't know exactly what they're offering you in help. But that's all I'm asking for. Anywho, and when we think about morally, for me, my own moral thing is that AI takes up a lot of water. It is incredibly destructive for the environment, like terrible, terrible, terrible. In the end times, when things are going bad, you're going to want the water, not the machine, right? So if we think about it that way, and that's my push, I'll be honest with you, like it's my moral obligation to be mindful of how I take care of the world around me. And if if I can do anything in this world, I'm going to try and avoid it at all costs. Do I use it? Absolutely. I did meeting notes the other day, put it in, gave me this, thing, but I had to go through and I had to correct it because it hallucinates and it rewrites it. And I'm like, that's not, So I have used it. Absolutely. But do I avoid it at all costs? Absolutely. In fact, when I Google minus AI. I go out of my way to avoid having the automatic, things. Plus, again, it pulls from so many sources. Oftentimes it does hallucinate. So, all right. Anywho, I know a lot of you are like, oh, stop talking about it. I get it. But I just do have to tell you where I come from in my experience and, my morals and where I stand on this and the ethics in which we stand by in this particular class. Okay? Simple. For homework, you're going to notice we will have quizzes. Majority of them will be in the Play Pause It. Oftentimes in unit Two, they're just going to be quizzes on their own. Reading responses and discussions are going to be throughout the entire semester. You're going to have a calendar that'll give you all of that information that'll help you. I also put what I'm looking for in the reading responses. In the reading responses, again, always be specific, always cite your sources, always, make sure you validate your points with the readings. All right. I walk you through that. I give you examples. I do ask for peer responses to the work. I know if you're like me, I've taken so many online classes, hundreds actually. I have taken hundreds of online classes. I have 2 master's degrees. So yes, it's a lot. I know that reading responses, oftentimes people are like, oh, just another box to check. My goal here is to avoid the box checking and really just read what your peers are writing and engage. We're in such a way in life where we very often, we just will mindlessly do stuff. I'd like you to try and be more engaged with your peers and maybe reiterate what they wrote, in your comment, or, hey, I totally agree. Or actually, my experience is this is why, I might disagree with that, but I see where you're coming from. Your responses are respectful and they're not that like, I agree. Like you follow through, right? Have a discussion. That's the goal. I want to try and make as much humanity within this class as I possibly can, considering it's online. And I know, I get it. I hate when I'm forced to give peer responses, but there's been times where later I was like, actually, I was really glad because I read someone else's work and it gave me a perception that I did not anticipate having. That's the goal. Okay, so I get it. I feel it. You're also gonna have writing prompts. The writing prompts I don't grade, but the biggest thing I want you to pull from the writing prompts, actually there's 2. One, there's a hand-eye coordination where I want you to hand write your notes and really just feel it. Feel the writing, just that's it. And then with the prompts, I just want you to get that experience. Like maybe because I grew up with it, maybe the science is telling us, it's important, but get used to kind of writing with your hands, notes when we're doing, lecture, or just get into that habit. It's for you. The reason why I don't grade the writing prompts, it's all for you. It is a way for you to develop more in your brain than anything. And sometimes, let's be honest, like we do assignments because we need to do the assignment because we just want the grade. Like I get you. I am very grade motivated. Give me the points. I understand. That's why I don't want to grade that, because I want you to just on your own, in the corner, whatever you got to do, write for the sake of writing with your hand and a pen. Just do that. And let it be cathartic. Answer the journal questions. Like, enjoy it. That's the goal. Okay. For assignments, like we have bigger assignments versus homework. Assignments, we're going to have, oops, sorry, I'm kicking my thing. We have about 8 large assignments. You're going to have 2 source summaries. You're going to have multiple rough drafts. You're going to have peer reviews. Like you're going to actually go through and interact with your peers' work. You're going to have a research paper, and you're going to have your final paper, and you're actually going to do a presentation, and you're going to do a narrative. And all of these are different ways. Like if one of our assignments doesn't really work well for you, the next one probably will. They're all very different. They're all trying to get us to use our body and our mind and our brains in a different way. And that's the whole goal for this class. When I say it's a different English class, it is a different English class. It is pushing the boundaries of our understanding of literacy and composition and how we write. Okay. All right. Again, please read more details both in the syllabus and in where I put the nitty gritty. You can take a look at that. It's going to show you everything. I have all the assignments and everything put in a very particular order. In order to get to one, you have to finish the one before. And the reason why I do that is my students have very often called me ADD. They've assumed me to be so because I'm all over the place. Because I'm all over the place, sometimes I need a certain amount of structure, or like just give me the points, give me the big thing I need to see so I can get to the next. And so I'm trying to guide you as my brain needs guiding. So if you're like, I'm so sick of hitting the mark done button, I just need you to do that so that you can just guide yourself into the next thing. Each piece is a part of the next. It all builds on top of itself. It is called scaffolding. I do that to help you so that this piece will guide you to this piece, will guide you to that piece. The goal is to not be mindless. I want you to be mindful. Okay, that's literally the entire goal of this class, is to be mindful. All right. Also, late assignments. Late is late. Late is late. Try not to do assignments at the very last minute, because if it goes over the mark of like midnight or whatever, automatically late, and it automatically takes off like an entire 1%. Even if it's a 1 minute late past the time it was to turn it in, Canvas is brutal. It'll take that 5% right off the bat. So please be mindful of that. Please be mindful of time management. I put times on things. Some of our homework assignments are play posits and lectures, and that's for the first unit and the third unit. So, and I recognize they run long. That's why this is a 4-unit class, is I do recognize time. It does take time, but it makes up for it. You can listen to the podcast or the play posits like their podcasts. Be in a habit of taking notes, because there will be a quiz after. I just, please be mindful of your time management. I do make a note of how long they will be. I am aware of it. Not all of them are me talking. Not a lot of them are like, I have TED Talks. I've got, Bob's Burgers, or whatever the case may be. I try and make it as like different as possible, to make it feel like, okay, what's going to be in the play posit today? I'm kind of excited. And that's the goal, is just to try something new. Okay. I get it. But the reason why I do long play posits in videos like this is because I recognize that if you're like me, sometimes reading, I'm like, dude, my eyes are crossed. There's too many words on the page. Can you talk to me? And that's what I do in these lectures. I talk to you. Okay. So I try and give you all the things as best as I can to make it easier for you. In the syllabus, please take a look at the syllabus. It is linked in the nitty gritty. You can go back and take a look at that. The things I do want you to understand, that I do have this as the quiz at the end, is I need you to understand your responsibilities as well. You as a student have a responsibility for your own learning. I give you everything, but to get it out of the class, to get things out of this class, you have to do the work for yourself. Okay, this is again why I push against other machines or people's doing your work, is what are you getting out of it? That's all you need to do, is try and get something out of this class. That's the goal. Even if it might not make sense, even if it's not necessarily something you want to do, the goal is like, why not try it? Do the thing, see what happens. You don't know, and if you're too honed in to like, I refuse to learn, then, college might not be for you, right? Like, the goal here is to be like, let's see what comes. Let's see what it is. So first and foremost, your first responsibility is to communicate with me. You got to tell me what's happening. If there's something going on, you got to tell me, because I don't know. I know nothing on what's going on in your end unless you tell me. So this is why I ask questions. I give as much feedback as I can. My goal here is to like, let us communicate. So you got to tell me where you're at. If a quiz isn't working, if a link isn't working, if you're confused, if you're anything, you got to tell me where you're at so I know. My biggest suggestion is, before you panic, pause, slow down, read everything, give yourself that opportunity, because what I've noticed is oftentimes students will reach out to me, and by the time I get back to you, they're like, oh, I figured it out. So trust yourself. Sometimes there is a pause when I come to respond to you. Especially on the weekends, might take a little longer. I try and do my best, but I need breaks too. Right? You'll see when I give feedback, I give a lot of feedback. There's a lot that I give to you. I work very hard as an instructor. So sometimes you have to give me a little bit of grace when it comes to responding. Try and find the answer first, but I get it. If you can't reach out to me, I am here. I don't want to dissuade you from reaching out to me. I'm here. Okay. Also make sure that you read my communications. I will do announcements. Announcements are key. I try very hard not to give too many announcements. I try and do maybe once a week, and it puts a lot of stuff just to tell you, hey, look at this, what I'm looking for, it's what I need, do the thing. Maybe it's already answering a question that you might have later. So please make sure that you read my announcements. I do my best to try and, make them not so many. If you see more than one, it definitely means there's something you need to know. So always check that. Try and avoid using your phone For this class. I recognize sometimes it happens, but just make sure you're checking the announcements. That's the biggest thing. It's usually around Tuesdays, rarely on Wednesdays, but always be looking for announcements. I'm hoping you're checking Canvas regularly. Okay. Also, make sure your responsibility is to recognize that it's up to you to turn assignments in on time. I can't do anything about that. Canvas docs. It's like I'm doing my best to give incentives as to why it's important to turn things in on time, especially when it comes to turning in your rough drafts, because your peers need that to give feedback, and they get credit for feedback, as do you. So please make sure you're turning things on time, out of respect for, well, me, because I gotta grade it. And so that being the case, sometimes once an assignment has gone past the turn-in date and it's closed, it's closed. Okay, so please be mindful of that. Do not get used to turning in things late, because when the final comes, deadline's deadline. Okay, like deadline is deadline. And then again, when assignments close, they close, and they close for good. They're donesies. Bye bye. Okay. So please keep that in mind. Make sure you're using anything that I offer in class, whether it's videos, the readings. The syllabus says the book. We don't have a book. We just have articles and things that I give you. Okay. So anything that I give you as feedback, please use the feedback too. Okay. Again, you got to take responsibility for your own learning. That is up to you. I grade, but I grade what you give me. So you got to give me stuff to grade, and then I give you rubrics, and you follow the rubrics, or you give me what I need. Okay. It's up to you to learn, and it's your responsibility to turn things in. Okay, so you get it. All right. And then be your own advocate, right? Be your advocate. I have no idea what's going on your end. You gotta keep me posted. Okay. On my end, my responsibilities are to communicate with you. I do it all the time. I try not to give you too much. I might be giving you too much, but I just feel like I want to give you, you can't fail if I give you everything, right? So I give you as much as I can. I grade according to rubrics or the assignments themselves. The assignments will tell you, this is what I'm looking for, that's what I look for, and that's how I grade. I also grade according to my policies and procedures. If AI is popping up, I can't give credit, things like that, right? So if you're especially when it comes to the experience and identity section, if you're just truly just giving me that, you're fine, right? You've got this. I promise you. You are incredibly capable. If you've gotten this far, you're incredibly capable. I trust it. Again, I will be following both class and college policies. So if there's things where I'm like, the policy said, it said this, so you gotta please pay attention to that. You already know it because I've told it. And then I will be as available to you as I possibly can. I am still a human being. I am still doing everything I can. Reach out to me if you need to Zoom, set up a schedule. We'll do our best to work around these things as best I can. And then my other responsibility is to support your learning. I do everything I possibly can to do so. So if you're needing something, reach out to me. I will do my best to get you the answer if I can, if I have it. Sometimes, unfortunately, my answer might not be what you want. I know, I get it. 'Tis life. But I'm doing my best. Just keep that in mind. For a class, required materials, obviously a computer and a way to access the things that we have in class. Make sure that you're able to access Canvas, and that if you have issues, you reach out to ITSS or the IT tech place that's going to help you. It's very important for that. Obviously, Canvas. I will give you links to Google Docs. You should be able to access it. It shouldn't be an issue. That's where we're going to turn in our rough drafts, where you're going to do your feedback and all of your editing. And then again, your participation in class is turning in assignments. If you're not turning in assignments, then I can't grade them. After census, I can't do anything about drops. That's going to be your responsibility. I can drop you before census, but I can't really tell on my end what your participation is, short of assignments being turned in. So if you need to drop, you got to reach out to admissions on that one. Okay. And that's, if you go through this syllabus, it's going to give you more feedback and information on what that looks like. Also, it shows you my policy on AI use and plagiarism, and what else? Again, academic integrity is the whole point. Ethics, right? That's the whole goal of this class, is to be ethical, mindful, and respectful. You're going to see that throughout the whole entire semester, right? That's what I look for in this class, okay? And that's pretty much it. There are more support links if you need them at the end of the syllabus. Oh, I forgot to say there's going to be five. We'll do a little five over here. Five reflections. And the reflections, again, I grade them, but it's honestly just an easy 20 points. It's practically, you do it, you get 20 points. Just answering the questions. And the reason why I do reflections is twofold. One, I want you to be able to just kind of like reflect on what you've done in class, how you're feeling in class, what you feel you're doing that's helping you to be, more successful in class. Like really reflecting on your who you are in class. Also tells me where you're at, and it helps me as the instructor go, oh, okay, this is where everybody's at. And mentally and emotionally, I will admit, we all know halfway through the semester, it's like, oh God, can I keep going? I don't know. Like that's why I do that, is I want you to reflect and go, okay, where am I at? What do I need? How can I keep moving forward? Because yeah, college, it's not necessarily hard, but it's not necessarily easy. And it's not individual classes that are usually hard as much as it is all of them, especially undergrad, especially required classes. I get it. And so that's why, again, it is a 4-unit class. It definitely gives you 4 units worth of work, but a lot of it's just time management and trusting the process. I say it 1,000 times. Be specific and trust the process. You're going to hear that a lot. But please message me if you have questions. If you, for some reason, you are always, you're using your phone, but you're finding it's not working for you, please reach out to Butte College for the different types of places where you can get to a computer. The Chico Center in room 231, that's the upstairs. If you go to the main campus library, they have computers. The Learning Resource Center in room 143, and then the Glenn Center is in rooms 103 and 104. These are the places you can go to get some computer access to a computer, which would be really easy for you. How do I say this? Not easy to get there necessarily, but it'll be easier if that's how, instead of just using your phone. Okay. I know it's hard. I'm trying to think of all the things. I recognize that we're all living in different spaces and places, and we're doing our best. Trust me, we are doing our best. We are trying to survive, and I am with you on that. So let us work together. Okay, reach out to me. I know I say that 100 times, but that's just what I'm suggesting. For grading, the thing that I'm looking for mostly is what the assignments say. What the assignments are telling you what I'm looking for. Just follow suit. Just kind of go through and like, oh, okay, this is what she's looking for, and then reach out. It happens. I'm scrolling through the syllabus as fast as I can on this one. And that's pretty much it. In the final assignments, the biggest thing is when you're presenting your findings, you're showing me how you're going to, do that. So I know this was like a side note, but I forget that sometimes students might not recognize at the very end of the a semester, not only do you have your research paper, but you present your findings in some way. And the reason why I do that is I want you to show all the things that you've learned throughout the semester. That's what happens is when you present your findings, what you don't realize is you're presenting all the information that you have learned throughout the semester in this beautiful way. So anyway, that's pretty much it for the semester and for the class. I will include a calendar for you, but if you do have questions, reach out to me. I should have a button that says that because I say it all the time. Other than that, thank you very much. Sorry it went so long, but it's best I can do with all we've got. I'll see you on the other end.